Comics came into popularity around the turn of the 20th century as newspapers used them to offer a little bit of humor and escape from the harsh realities of current events. The limitations of mechanical reproduction in those early days meant that the art of the comic needed to be bold and clean, and tight newspaper deadlines meant that the style of the art needed to be simple and quickly rendered. Also, the literacy levels and attention spans of the general public meant that characters and ideas needed to be exaggerated and over-dramatized to catch the attention of all kinds of readers. Despite all the technology a modern comic artist has at their disposal, the black, inky line art and simple style and bold characterization of those early days is still the dominant look of comic arts. Black line art, as we've come to call it, is created over top a rough pencil sketch using either a black ink pen, a calligraphy nib, or a small brush dipped in ink. These tools all have their own unique character, special skill set, and level of difficulty. As you can tell in my lesson slides, I'm obviously drawing on a digital tablet, and these days that's how I do most of my professional work. But I did spend around 15 years using traditional drawing tools, so I'll be sharing some thoughts on those along the way as well. To distinguish each pen and brush type, we can talk about the unique look of their line, which can be broken down into the following aspects: line width, line variation, line precision, and line character. Let's start with the easiest type of line tool to use: the felt tip pen. These pens have a lightweight, ink-filled handle and a firm felt tip that does not vary much under pressure or direction change of the hand. This makes the felt tip pen pretty easy to control. For example, I can ink a circle in a single motion. Felt tip pens are good for beginner and professional artists who have fast hands and use lots of details and text. The felt tip pen is a technical drawing pen, meaning it's well suited for graphical rendering, as in you could run it along the edge of a ruler and get a nice clean line. It's a tool with steady line width, low variation, high precision, and minimal character. If you're in the market for a traditional felt tip pen, purchase a set with assorted tip sizes and waterproof ink. That's important, especially if you're going to paint on top of your comics. You can get the Pigma Manga Comic Pro drawing kit for around $15. It's a great starter kit, and I've used it for a lot of professional level projects as well. These pens have good overall performance and work smoothly on all types of illustration board, Bristol board, and vellum. But you'll want to keep well stocked in these pens because you don't want your last pen to dry up in the middle of a project. Their inkwells cannot be refilled. They're disposable pens. Next, we'll look at the nib pen. It comes in two parts. First, the handle. It's lightweight and often has a cork grip that tapers off into a small point at the far edge of the pen. The metal clip on the end of the handle allows you to change pen tips depending on the needs of the project. Nib pens require practice to control due to the flexible metal of the nib itself. To enjoy working with a nib pen, you need to work slower than you do with a technical drawing pen. For example, when I ink a circle, my line weight changes, so I need to turn my hand and paper to keep a consistent character in my line. Because hand pressure affects the look of the line art, you'll need to develop gestures that get you the effect you're looking for. Once you get comfortable with a nib pen, you'll find that it can bring so much expression to your inking style. The nib pen is a tool with pressure-based line weight, medium variation, medium precision, and great character, as far as I'm concerned. Personally, I'm a big fan of the nib's inking character. I've used the traditional tool in all kinds of projects, and when I moved to digital tablets, I found pens that created that similar type of line character. For traditional nibs, the main two types are the G nib, a smaller, more flexible nib, and the spoon nib, which has a more firm tip. I'm a fan of the Nico spoon nib. I have a heavy hand and little patience, so the firm metal point of the Nico and its ability to hold more ink is a great fit for my inking process. I'll be upfront and let you know I have the least amount of experience with traditional brush pens. The ones I've used are really watercolor brushes, which is probably the case for a lot of comic artists. I work with the Winsor & Newton brand, and I use the small round tip brushes. As a digital tool, a brush pen is not really unlike a nib pen. The main difference between a digital brush pen and a nib pen comes down to the pressure sensitivity. With a brush pen, the pressure sensitivity is usually set a bit higher and the brush size is a little bigger to allow for more variation in the line width. You get a looser brush stroke with the brush pen. You'll also see more variety in the starting and ending points of your line. Some brushes will have a blunt start and finish, and some will give you more of a point. Practice inking with the digital brush pen using variations in the brush size. If you want more expression in your line, scale the brush way up to see more impact from your hand pressure. The brush pen doesn't suit all types of line art, so you might find yourself using the brush pen for some aspects of a composition and then switching maybe to a technical drawing pen to achieve certain levels of tiny detail, such as panel borders or the lettering in a speech bubble. The brush pen really reflects the full movement of the artist's hand. You'll find yourself accommodating it by dragging the brush hairs in different ways across the page to achieve certain effects. It's going to be nearly impossible to achieve any sort of straight line with a brush pen. But that's not the point of using it. Using a brush pen is all about creating flowy, calligraphy-like imagery. If you're a stickler for technical precision, the brush pen probably isn't for you. But hey, give it a shot. You might find new aspects of inking and cartooning that really appeal to you. Let's talk quickly about types of ink. If you're a digital artist, well, you don't have a lot of choices here. Your ink is the pixel. But you can change brush types in Photoshop or Procreate or whatever drawing tool you're using to get different levels of grit in your ink style. So play with your digital drawing tools and find one that suits the personality of your work. But when it comes to traditional inking, it's more about the consistency of the ink, and the only way you're going to find something you like is by trying things. Most inking choices are really based on the type of tool you're using. I've always been drawn to the Winsor & Newton brand of ink. It's a thick, waterproof ink, so it really clings to the ink nib, and when you let it down on your Bristol board or watercolor paper, it leaves a really glossy, globby trail. If you want more information on traditional inking tools, I recommend Ink Drawing Techniques, Brush Nib and Pen Style by Yuko Shimizu. You'll find her class over on Skillshare. Check it out. It's awesome. Back to comics here. Now that we're familiar with our black line art and basic set of tool options, let's look at how inking can bring a panel to life.